In 2021, edtechs are said to have raised over $4.7 billion, but come 2022, the sector has lost momentum as funds seem to have dried up and many have started to lay off. In fact, a report suggests that startups in India have laid off at least 12,000 employees in 2022 so far, with massive firings at edtechs. But what went wrong? To explain what's the unrest in the edtech sector all about, we have with us upGrad's co-founder Mayank Kumar. Thank you for joining us, Mayank.
Thank you for having me here today.
Can you please tell us what went wrong? Why have so many edtechs gone from hiring thousands of employees during the pandemic to firing even more than half of this number?
Kanishka, my first point would be, I don't think there's anything going wrong in the edtech ecosystem, broadly because we are just getting started in our journey. So I see this in a very different way. I do see this as an approach where edtech is just beginning to take off. But you are right that we are seeing a fair bit of conversations, chatter, news around layoff, people letting go of their colleagues and employees, etc. But that is not fundamentally to do with the market. That is something to do with what happened in the last 2 years. So you need to understand the context for that and what's happening today. And therefore, if you look at what happened 2 years back at the time of when the pandemic set in, there was a drop and offline institutions shut down. So a lot of school, colleges, largely tuition centers where the went down, a lot of demand from consumer side went to online. So the online K through 12 ecosystem did see a huge surge of many more people coming and taking up online tuitions, online K through 12 tutoring, so on and so forth. So there was a big jump, and because money supply was there, funding was easily available, a lot of push happened on marketing and pushing the awareness of online education in the larger ecosystem. Now, in today's context, what we are seeing is with offline coming back up post-pandemic, we are seeing schools opening up, tuition centers opening up, Quota, which is IIT JEE coaching, a lot of centers sort of starting to offer the programs offline. The demand is bound to go away from the online space back to offline. So there's a bit of an impact of demand. So if you move from A to B, which was significant upside, we are slightly coming down from that level, but the overall area is still higher than what it was pre-pandemic for the online demand. Now, in this journey, because the offline is sort of opening up, there's a bit of a demand getting away. These ecosystems are largely impacted, Kanishka, the K through 12 space and the tuition space, and less so in the adult learning and professional education or higher education space, because professional learning and higher education was never offline in nature. So you are seeing a mixed impact happening in the sector, but with funding coming down, offline opening up, you are seeing a bit of a churn happening in the ecosystem. The last bit that I want to just add was that in the last 2 years, what we saw, some of this growth happened at not so great unit economics. So you were acquiring customers at a cost which was much higher than what the customers were paying you. And today, with the funding ecosystem sort of changing, you are seeing companies and founders taking a more rational call that, look, we don't need to chase growth, we don't need to buy growth, we need to get growth which is sustainable in the long term. So I think between pandemic, funding, the way in which the customers were acquired, we are seeing the shift happening currently.
Speaking specifically about upGrad, you recently said that you're looking to hire in huge numbers. What are you doing differently than the competition, which is laying off staff not just in India but around the world?
I guess we never went berserk during the last 2 years also, but our focus has been more three things that we have done differently with some of the other competitors. I guess we are focused a lot on being a more diverse portfolio, and therefore in that ecosystem we are seeing that if you are diverse, even if one sector or one segment is not doing that great, you have other sectors and segments who will add up to your growth. Second, we have constantly focused on providing outcomes to our learners. So our learners are finding jobs and they're seeing the result, and therefore more sort of learners are coming in the ecosystem. So that focus on results was always there, and outcomes was always there for us. And the third critical one, we are, for whatever it may be, because we are in the higher education and post K through 12 space, the impact on our business is limited because we did not get impacted by offline and online shift during the pandemic era. So given the sector, given the approach that we have taken of diversified nature and our focus on outcomes, I think all three factors have helped us build a more holistic and sustainable business. And in the approach, we never actually went beyond the means to sort of acquire a customer. So every customer acquisition is profitable. And therefore, as we add more and more customers, we end to sort of add to the bottom line itself. The last one that I will add, Kanishka, is that our genesis for the first 5 years of our journey, we never raised any external capital. So from an ethos and from a mindset perspective, we do value what, I mean, we value money and we value what money brings along with it. And we have been quite clear about how to leverage the resources and how to sort of tap onto the resources for the growth in the future.
How many people are you looking to hire in the current fiscal?
In the current fiscal, we'll go up by about 2,000 to 3,000 more people, perhaps even more. I think every week I'm sitting with an open position of about 250 plus. So we are seeing more and more people sort of getting onboarded into the system. So there is going to be an increased hiring, and that's largely because many of our new businesses that we have ventured into, whether it is study abroad, whether it is short skill certification, whether it is international ecosystem, will require the right sort of people coming in.
I'm told that while you're looking to hire, there's also an attrition problem that upGrad is facing, which happened when the 6-day work week was imposed sometime back in October 2021, and people were also asked to relocate and return to offices. Can you tell us, how are you tackling that, and is there a talent crunch that the edtech sector is facing?
So I think currently, when I'm looking at the data, attrition is pretty much under control. And I guess what's happening, Kanishka, is that in today's context, where most other companies are cutting down on workforce, earlier there were a lot of opportunities and options available for any of our colleagues and employees because people were paying higher salaries and attracting talent to move from one company to another. But given that there is a much more saner approach in hiring in the market, and plus, we have gotten to a place where everybody is back in the office, everybody is driving to meeting the numbers and the targets. Our attritions are very much under control. We are not seeing attrition as a key issue as much as it's getting the right sort of people come to us.
Well, what are your attrition numbers like? And these new hirings that you are going to do, are these replacement hirings, or will these positions be filled to have additional headcount?
Yeah, no, so I think our attrition numbers now, I would say, it has halved from 6 months back till now. So the numbers have come down drastically. And as I'm seeking right now, I'm just looking at the data. Sometimes back, our attrition numbers are, I think, on a excluding sort of some of the functions, we will be maybe about 3 to 4% on a month-on-month basis. It's still there, but I mean, it has come down significantly over a period of time. What we are looking at right now, as we are looking at hiring and onboarding, there is a little bit of hiring happening for replacement, but that's not that much because replacement is very limited given the attrition is not fairly high. It is some of the places where we are bringing and increasing the headcount because partly we are trying to add capabilities in certain domains. We are launching few new products where we need to hire more people, both in sales and product. And in certain places, we are also trying to bring in more companies via the M&A route, and that also adds to the headcount of what we're looking at doing. So between replacement hiring plus the hiring that we are doing for new ventures and new initiatives, plus M&A, all three are sort of adding up together to increase our headcount this year.
Well, about relocating, can you please explain to us, when edtech is such a sector that is all about remote learning, why can it not be incorporated within the system? What are the issues that you're facing over there?
No, I don't. I think we still have about 80% people back in the office and 20% working remotely. So depending upon the functions and the teams and the requirements, there are different options available for our team members currently within upGrad. Certain functions do become far more productive if they're together as in a single location. Certain functions perform much better if they're remote and sort of operating as per in a work from home environment. So depending upon the teams, department and functions, we have kept the option open for different functions. So we are encouraging people, if we get higher productivity and higher output, if you're working from home, but in case there is a certain function and certain teams which need to be in the office, we are encouraging that. And I do believe that we have seen a significant shift happening that when they are coming and working together in a single location, the fundamental sort of upside in productivity is much higher. And that's different online learning and remote learning, because for remote learning, for a lot of individuals, the option of going to an offline center is not there. In our case, we want to sort of provide a higher and a work environment where they can come together, they can discuss, they can debate, they can take decisions and move on some of the decision making much faster. And that's what has helped us when we have come back and started working from the office.
Well, about salaries, Mayank, have they gone up? Is the trend like in the IT services sector? And also, at what levels are you going to hire the new people?
No, I think the hiring would be across all levels. I mean, we recently announced hiring a new brand head coming to us. So he was at a senior level, but we are also hiring at at an entry level or a fresher level also. So it's quite a spectrum. Of course, because of the hierarchy sort of approach, you will have many more people joining at the entry level, but you will see many more senior recruit coming into upGrad, because we're looking at expanding a leadership team as well. So that's on the hiring approach that we are taking. So you will see folks coming in at entry level as well as the senior level all together within upGrad.
Moving on, are there any sales concerns as well? Have the inflation concerns also served as a reality check for the edtech sector? Are people willing to pay as much as they were earlier?
No, actually not. I mean, I don't see inflation sort of coming in impacting us in terms of decision-making criteria. I guess what's happening is that people, specifically lifelong learning and adult learning and professional education space, what we are seeing is that people are willing to spend more to invest in themselves, because just in general, the ecosystem, as you said earlier, that people are losing their jobs. They don't have sort of job safety, at least in the startup ecosystem. Many more learners are coming to us and sort of applying and looking at upskilling themselves so that they become more and more relevant. So general tendency is that as the market conditions become not so great in general from an economic perspective, you always see higher education getting picked up a lot more, because people do see this as a good time to invest back in themselves. And I think you asked the question about is the salary level of our colleagues increasing? In certain domains, we do see that increase happening. I mean, technology is a very sort of prime example where hiring for technology talent, the cost is gone up over a period of time. And some of the other functions, we don't see that significant move up, largely because that demand is there. And also because the supply in the ecosystem with other companies letting go of their colleagues and employees, there's enough supply available of right talented folks in the market right now.
You recently said that a funding round is a work in progress. When is that expected to close, and who all will we see participating in this round?
So right now, I'm not in a position to sort of divulge any names, but yes, we are in the process of sort of closing it. Once it gets closed, you will hear a lot more information about it. But we do see, broadly speaking, that there is an interest in the higher education space. There is interest in the higher learning and lifelong learning ecosystem. While there is concerns and question marks about the overall sort of ecosystem, but people do see if there is a sustainable business model which is growing and is attracting the right sort of customers coming to them. There are enough investors available who are looking at investing in these ecosystems.
Well, lastly, what's your take on regulations for the edtech space, especially since the government has issued a warning to these firms against unfair business practices? So are government guidelines something that you're looking forward to?
No, I think we are actively working. I mean, as upGrad, we are engaging with the government and various policymakers on an ongoing basis, and also as part of an Indian edtech consortium, which all the edtech companies have come together. We constantly engage with the government, both state, central, as well as sort of various secretaries. There are three things that have been raised in the process, which is all of us are aware of it, and we are working extremely aggressively, and we share a lot of information with the ministries as well as to what steps we have taken. I think the three areas are there is a question and focus on misleading and ethical advertising, because many a times when you're dealing with education, you need to be very ethical in your advertising and what messaging you are giving out as part of advertising. And that's one thing that we are aware, and we are making very clear guidelines around those. The second is around the right push and the right sales approach, right counseling approach. Many a time what happens is in education, sales gets very aggressive, and that's been one of the feedback that we have received from from the government as well as from the ministry. So how do we bring in a right model in which we are acquiring, even the sales is not a pushy sale, but it's a right counseling, which is enabling people to take the right decision. And the last one is around financing and refund policies, because that's another area where we have heard customer complaint. So as part of that, Kanishka, what we have done is we have set up an independent entity under IEC, Indian EdTech Consortium, with EAMAI working with us, where each of the members have signed up to the code of ethics that we are following. In some way, we are self-regulating the industry on our own. B, we have also found an independent grievance review board, which is headed by a retired Supreme Court judge, and brings together about 6 other members across different industries and different sectors, 2 from EdTech and remaining 4 from outside the EdTech ecosystem. That independent grievance review board looks at various complaints coming from consumers and solving for those consumer grievances. So we have taken those steps. In the last 6 months since IEC came together, we have looked at all the complaints data that has come to and grievances that have come to various companies within the EdTech ecosystem. Of all the grievances that have come in, about 99% plus of them have been redressed. And that's the approach that we are taking, that we want to ensure that the consumer and the customer complaints are being taken into account, and we are working towards making it even stronger. So I don't see regulation as a question mark, but as an EdTech ecosystem, we need to be responsible and need to come together as a single entity to solve for consumer complaints and consumer grievances, because if consumers are happy, the ecosystem in itself will continue to grow.
All right. Well, that's about it. Thanks for joining us, Mayank.